Welcome to This Explainer. I want you to imagine, just for a second, that we're sitting around a campfire, the crackle of the wood in the background, just sharing stories. Today, we aren't talking about mythical heroes. No, we're tracing an incredibly real, modern-day journey. We're looking at the path of an Indian Administrative Service officer. It's a journey of public service that calls to everyday men and women across the entire country, asking them to step up to a genuinely extraordinary task. So let's just dive right into this. Think about it. What does it actually take to run a nation of over 1 billion people? To make absolutely sure that a child in some remote village goes to school, that a farmer can actually earn a livelihood, or that a massive city manages its waste? It's not just about drafting policies on a piece of paper. It's an immense, deeply human responsibility. It requires people who are literally willing to shoulder the weight of a whole community's hopes and struggles.
Chapter 1. The Call to Serve.
Okay, so every grand journey begins with a choice, right? This is that pivotal moment when a regular citizen, maybe a fresh college grad, an engineer, or a researcher, decides to leave their comfort zone and step into the arena of public administration. But to get in, they have to face what is universally considered one of the toughest exams in the world, the UPSC Civil Services Examination. It's basically a 3-step mountain to climb. First up, the prelims. This is just a screening test to check your broad awareness. Then comes the mains, 9 really intense descriptive papers where candidates have to dive deep into their understanding of the world. And finally, the interview, a 275-mark conversation that tests not just what you know, but who you are, your personality, your ethics, and if you're truly suited for public service.
But even before taking that first step, there are some pretty strict parameters. You absolutely need a graduate degree. The maximum age is generally 32 for the general category, and you are capped at exactly 6 attempts. Now, for candidates in other categories, those age limits and attempts do expand, but the core truth remains the same. It takes immense dedication, honestly, often years of quiet, relentless study, just to earn the right to enter this service.
Chapter 2. Forging an Officer. Once that grueling exam process is finally over and the results are out, the real transformation kicks in. Successful candidates pack up, leave their old lives behind, and head off for a sprawling 2-year education at LBSNAA, the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration. It kicks off with a 3-month foundation course. Then, the Bharat Darshan. This is amazing. It's a 7-week, 20,000-kilometer winter study tour all across India. They experience everything from remote tribal areas to actual armed forces posts. After that eye-opening trip, it's 12 weeks of intense academic instruction in law and public administration, followed by a full year of on-the-ground district training. Now, during all this rigorous training, the officers are really kept grounded. The starting monthly basic pay for a trainee is 56,100 rupees. But here's the catch. Practically speaking, they make deductions from this amount for mess and hostel fees at the academy. So they're actually left with a pretty modest stipend. It's a humble beginning, and it serves as a constant reminder that they are public servants first and foremost.
Chapter 3. Power, Perks, and Pressures.
So after training, these officers step into this really profound balancing act. On one hand, yes, there are undeniable benefits. We're talking subsidized housing and vehicles, incomparable job security, and lifetime pension benefits. It sets up a very secure life for the officer and their family. But, and this is a big but, those perks are heavily offset by some severe everyday pressures. Imagine dealing with immense public scrutiny, relentless 10 to 12-hour workdays where you're constantly sacrificing family time, and having to navigate really complex political influence, all while trying to maintain your absolute integrity. It is not easy. Which brings us to what they actually do on a day-to-day basis. The sheer weight of an IAS officer's administrative responsibilities is staggering. They function as an executive magistrate. They maintain law and order. They supervise the rollout of state policies, and they essentially handle the daily affairs of the government. They are literally the vital link between a policy written at some desk in the Capitol and a life actually being changed on the ground. And because of that, this is a career of steady, significant growth. As an officer's sphere of influence expands over decades of service, well, so does their compensation. They start at the junior timescale at 56,100 rupees and progress slowly and steadily through the years to a selection grade at 118,500 rupees, and eventually they might reach the apex scale of 225,000 rupees as a chief secretary. That financial growth perfectly mirrors their growing responsibility over the nation's welfare.
Chapter 4. Real Officers, Real Impact.
All right, let's step away from the pay scales and the protocols for a minute and look at the emotional core of this journey. An officer's work is, at the end of the day, all about community building. And they do it across astonishingly diverse domains. I mean, they might spend their mornings strengthening foundational education, their afternoon trying to revive rural livelihoods, and then their evenings strategizing urban sanitation. It's wild. Let me share a few true stories of men and women who perfectly exemplify this.
Imagine being a young student struggling with math, feeling like the door to any kind of science career is just completely slammed shut. IAS officer Samuel Jha, who was posted in Tonk, noticed this exact struggle. So what did she do? She deployed an AI-powered, personalized learning platform right into government schools so students could practice at their own pace. Thanks to this really targeted, empathetic innovation, the Class 10 foundational maths pass rate skyrocketed to an unbelievable 96.4%. She literally changed the trajectory of those kids' lives overnight.
Or consider the terrifying reality of a natural disaster. When massive floods submerged over 20 villages in Punjab, IAS Sakshi Sani was right there on the ground. She was literally wading through floodwaters herself, coordinating with the army and local rescue teams. Through her hands-on, absolutely fearless leadership, they managed to rescue over 900 people in just 24 hours. It's in those exact moments that an officer isn't just some administrator behind a desk, they become a literal lifeline. And, this impact extends far into environmental challenges, too. IFS officer Varun Jain was facing a really tragic issue of human-elephant conflict in Chhattisgarh. He ended up partnering with a startup to develop an AI-based elephant tracking system. It actually sends SMS warnings to villagers whenever herds are nearby. By blending modern tech with traditional forest management, he reduced fatal conflicts to near zero. He kept both the local community and the majestic wildlife completely safe. Finally, let's look over at the banks of the River Ganga in Varanasi. Discarded ritual clothes were heavily polluting the waters there. IAS Akshat Verma saw this huge problem, but he also saw a deeply human solution. He partnered up with local craftswomen to collect and upcycle these discarded fabrics into reusable bags. So he solved a severe environmental pollution problem while at the exact same time creating a steady, reliable income for over 50 local women. It's just a brilliant example of empathy turned into action.
Chapter 5. A Lifelong Legacy.
As these officers progress through all these different roles, shaping lives year after year, they do eventually reach the twilight of their active career. But here's the thing. The calling to serve rarely just ends with retirement. There is so much purpose beyond the pension. That deep, deep well of experience they've gathered over decades, it gets continuously passed on. Many transition really gracefully into advisory roles for the government or the private sector. Some join academia to teach. Others dedicate their time to social work, and many of them mentor the thousands of young aspirants who are just hoping to walk the exact path they just finished. So, bringing our campfire story completely full circle, I want you to read this really profound quote from Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. He called the civil services the steel frame of the country. He noted that it represents the essential spirit of our nation, unity and diversity. It is a system that literally takes people, men and women from every single corner of this vast, wonderfully diverse land, and unites them under one single noble banner of public service. Which leaves us with one final thought. You've seen the rigorous path, the immense pressures, and the profound life-altering impact that dedicated individuals can have on a society. Now, we might not all be called to join the civil services, but we all belong to a community, right? So my question to you is this. Look at your own life. How might you use your own unique talents to serve your community? Just think about it. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.